Good evening, folks. It's 6 o'clock. It's Gardel here. Tonight we're looking at Learning Unit 4, which is Chapter 12, Bootstrapping and Crowdfunding for Resources. I just want to quickly refer to the assignment. I am busy marking. I'm about a third in, so there's a long couple of days ahead of me, tomorrow and Friday, and I'll probably start capturing the marks then over the weekend. After which they'll be released hopefully early next week by our academic team. So yeah, sometime early next week you should start seeing marks appearing. It's not looking too bad at the moment. I'm grateful for the effort that has been put in. This particular unit is one of the units that we deal with in the next assignment, and there is actually a question around bootstrapping, crowdfunding, etc. So this makes it a rather important thing. So if you're here tonight, thank you very much. But if you're listening to the recording, it's an important one to listen to. Maybe also look at the assignment before you listen to this. It might help you guide you through the actual lesson tonight. I will probably, I need to go check my dates, but probably early next week. No, not early next week, sorry, the week after that, I think it is. It's on the schedule, but I'll release a recording for the second assignment. I don't have my dates in front of me, so I'm not exactly sure for when I've scheduled that recording, but there will be a recording. I will email you once I've done the recording. It'll be a couple of weeks before the assignment is due, just to give you some time to have a look over it. I will also then dedicate a session, hopefully, where we can ask questions about it. We are a bit, things are going to get a bit weird, and I'm not sure how it affects you, but I do think it affects you. There's that public holiday on, I think it's the 24th. Just open my calendar quickly. Yeah, the 24th. And that's your night, so there won't be a class that night, but I will do a recording or something and make a plan for you guys to be able to listen to, and yeah, we'll have something. I can't figure out how I'm going to do that, but because it's a public holiday, there won't be a live class that evening. Again, let's have a look at the learning outcomes for Learning Unit 4. There we go. So basically, this is all about starting your, and I don't know what that funny thing is at the top there. This is all about starting your business and getting funding for the business. So it's about finding ways in terms of getting your business going. Now, you'll remember, and we're going to refer to it, I'll refer to it, I think, yeah, I might as well go to the next slide. That we said in chapter 1 that the principles of entrepreneurship talk to how we really just got to do something. So the idea of bootstrapping is that you literally pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, and that's an American term. We talk about bootlaces, and you need to get started by what you have. So bootstrapping is the process of building or starting your business with whatever funding is available, or capital, or whatever is available, right? And we talk about those 8 principles of entrepreneurship from chapter 1, your desired impact on the world. The second principle is very important. Start with the means at hand. Describing the idea as you see it today. Then it is, how much are you prepared to lose? Then, and remember, these are principles. It's not a cycle. Do the small things. Find networks or create networks and get others to buy into it. Learn stuff and build on whatever you learn. And then be honest with yourself and say, look, what have I done? Where am I going with it? And part of that whole principle of part of these principles is this, the second one, as I said, that start with whatever you at hands, and just I always I can't remember if I said it to you guys when we spoke about that in that first chapter early last semester. I always say it's the Nike principle of entrepreneurship. Just do it. Whatever you're going to do, just do it. Because you don't want to spend all your time planning and thinking and so on. So there are places where entrepreneurs go look for financial assistance, and there's three places: friends, family, and fools, or the three F's of financing for entrepreneurs, because that's where you'll typically find money. But in this chapter, and let me just define fools. Fools is a bit of a tongue-in-the-cheek thing. It's those people that are prepared to throw money at an idea when the idea is maybe not fully ripened and fully processed and fully at the point of where we want the idea. It's not necessarily a complete idea yet. It is something good that you have in your mind, but it's not the solid business plan driven 8 months thinking process. It's an idea, and we're going to do this, and let's go for it. And then banks are not the place to go. They're not going to be interested. But friends, families, and fools. It might be that guy that you sit next to on an aeroplane. It might be somebody that you meet on a beach. Whatever. And many businesses have started with fools throwing money at it. But let's assume that you not a very friendly person. Your family's given up in your ideas and you can't identify any fools. So let's see what bootstrapping then will entail for you. So the idea is that you procure these resources or buy in the resources without long-term venture capitalists throwing money at you or banks saying, look, we will underwrite you. And yeah, there's benefits to formal financing. It's much more difficult to find financing there from the venture capitalists or the banks or even angel investors, guys that like to invest into startup businesses and are prepared to give you really good deals. That's a good way to go. You can get money from these guys. You can get guidance. Typically, many of the people that will give money to a new venture will say, look, we also have the following resources that we'll give to you to help you. They might say, look, we want to appoint a mentor for you and all of that stuff. And it's great. It's really, really great. But that's the stuff we teach the first years. You guys have been around the block a bit now, and now we get to the facts of the matter. The hard reality is that many new ventures are simply not ready for funding. They haven't done anything. They haven't proved anything. If you bootstrap a business or you start something and you can go to a guy and say, look, I've run this business on a tiny budget for the past 6 months. These are the profits I've made. These are the clients I've signed up. And what's happening now is this business is going to die because we can't grow. I don't have the capital to grow it. I've got clients that are saying to me, look, I want more product and I can't produce the product because I don't have the money to buy bigger machines. I don't have the money to buy bulk raw material. So how about financing me? Then guys are going to say, yes, now let's talk it. Because you've done the bootstrapping. You've got yourself up and running. You've started the business. You've shown that it's a viable idea. But to do this, to start the bootstrapping process, you need to be very clear about your product and goals. You need to have a product market fit, a team, and a committed team. And yes, that team might be you and your sister, and a cousin twice removed. You need to have some form of a customer base. You need to have convinced people that this is a good idea. And once you've done those things, you're in a much better negotiating position to go to people and say, invest money, please. And then you're not going to, for those of you that have watched Shark Tank, you're not going to get people that are going to say to you, yeah, it sounds good. You need to start the business. You haven't done anything. You need to start the business. I'll give you your $1 million that you want to start the business, and I'll take 75% shares. Then you're not going to be in that position, because that's what people like the guys on Shark Tank thrive on. They're looking for a really good idea where they can say, okay, that's a great idea. I believe we can make something of the idea, but you've got nothing. You've got an idea or you've got a product, but you haven't proven the product in the market. So I will give you the money, but then I want the majority share of the company. And you, because you haven't bootstrapped, now don't have much of a choice. So you're sort of going to throw the company away. You're going to give away control. And those people are going to do with your product whatever, and your dreams are going to be shattered. But if you bootstrap yourself into a position where you have got clients, you've got some kind of a staff basis, you've shown your product in the market, and the market likes your product, and you can show sales and so on, you now have a stronger negotiation position. You're not just an idea anymore. You actually have a business. And you want a business that needs to be financed, not an idea. And that's why bootstrapping is so important. Because in the long run, bootstrapping is literally going to mean that your startup is actually a business and not an idea. So when we start talking about bootstrapping a startup, we talk about the shoestring norm. It means building the business slowly. We're not going to start the business selling 10,000 units or producing 10,000 units, because we might not know if we're going to sell them. We're going to start the business with what we can do. We're probably going to use our own money. So salaries is a great thing. Lots of times I hear entrepreneurs say, look, I'm never going to work for somebody. I don't want to work for somebody. And I say to those people, that's a bad attitude to take. You want to work for somebody. The reason why you want to work for somebody is because they're going to give you a salary, and that's going to give you money. And money is an amazing thing when you want to bootstrap a business. So one of my really good friends, we studied together, and he was an entrepreneur from day one. He always said, I'm never going to work for somebody. And directly after we studied, I moved from Cape Town up to Gauteng, and I worked there for a couple of years, and we lost touch. And when I met him again, we chatted, and he was working as a waiter in the Spur. He had bought a house with money that he'd inherited in what's it, the Gama place around the water, any case over there in Cape Town, and he was renting out 3 rooms in his house. And I said to him, but you were always going to be the entrepreneur. He said, yes. And in the garage is my screen printing business, where I print my t-shirts and stuff that I sell. So what he was doing is, he didn't have anybody to give him money, so he inherited a bit of money, and he could use that money to to put a deposit on a house. And his argument was that I could use the business money to start the business, but I don't know how long the business is going to take to generate money. But if I use this as a deposit and I buy a house, in those days it was easier to buy a house than today. We're talking 25, 30 years ago. I buy a house, I can rent out the rooms, I will probably cover the bond, so my accommodation is free. I'm staying for free. I work in the Spur. I can decide when I work my shifts. I use that money to finance the business until the business is big enough that I don't have to work at the Spur anymore, and the business will grow big enough that I can kick these guys out of my house and I can stay in my house on my own. He's the first guy I ever knew that drove a Ferrari. Yeah, it took him about 5-6 years. So yeah, but he bootstrapped it by working at the Spur, right? And he's leveraged that off. He sold that business. I use him a lot in examples when I teach, because he's a serial entrepreneur. I know 3 people that are serial entrepreneurs. He's one of them that has had several different businesses, And those guys have all used what we talk about as sweat equity. They have used their own labor to build their business, right? Either to build the business itself or sweat equity to work for somebody else and then use that money to run the business. Another guy I can tell you about, one of the other guys I know is a serial entrepreneur. And I've told this story so many times, I might have told it to you as well. He started off, he wanted to own a pet shop. And he lost his job, and he was big into tropical fish. That's how we met. And he made a living at one stage from driving from one pet shop to the next, looking at the fish in the tanks, understanding what fish are priced wrongly or named wrongly, or what fish are simply cheap, buying them at one pet shop and driving to the next pet shop and selling them for a profit, and then buying fish there and selling them at the next place. He made a living out of that, guys. And then a couple of years later, well, not a couple of years, not long after that, he started his first pet shop, which he sold, went into a different business. Later came back to the pet shop industry, had a really big pet shop in Pretoria, had branches of pet shops, ended up selling that, moving. So, yeah, but these guys all started from these small beginnings. So don't think when we're talking about bootstrapping, it's something in a textbook, and this is not something that happens in real world, right? So you need to be creative, and you need to use whatever resources you've got to get started. You, what you have, what you can use to save money while you're getting your business off the ground is what you have to do, right? If you need machinery, right, then you go to the pawn shop and you go to the second-hand shop and you look what type of machinery is there that you can use and repurpose for your business. And now I'm going to say something that once again we've taught you differently, but this is where we come to the reality. We're coming to the sharp end of entrepreneurship now. Don't worry about balance sheets, forecasts, cash forecasts, profits and losses. What you focus on is cash flow. That's all you worry about. How much cash have I got, and how long can I survive on this cash? Because you need to understand how much cash you need to keep your business afloat, right? And one of the things here where I always recommend that you should keep your personal finances and the business finances separate. And when I ran my own business, I had my wallet in my pocket, and I would never put money of the business in my wallet. I had a separate little holder where if I made a sale and it was cash, I was a manufacturer, but sometimes people bought from me and they gave me cash money. I would put it in there. And that money, I wouldn't drive home this afternoon and say, "Ooh, I need to get something for the house to eat," and take money out of that. I'd take the money out of my wallet. If I didn't have money out of my wallet, I'd draw money. If I didn't have money to draw, then I didn't eat. But you can't take money out of the till for your personal things. So you always need to separate it. However, when you're at the bootstrapping phase, then those things merge. The cash that you're coming in from what you're working is the cash you're going to need to run your business. And sometimes you're not going to have any cash in your personal capacity because you put it all into the business, and the business has made a bit of cash, and you're going to need to feed yourself out of the business. At the bootstrapping phase, that's fine, because you are literally making money to get your business up and running so that you can stop whatever job you're doing and only focus on the business. So here's the only time where your cash, the business's money and your money, they merge into each other. They become, it's not healthy, but unfortunately they come indistinguishable. So table 12.2 will give you a couple of things, and these are things like don't rent a place, work from home. If you can borrow machinery from somebody, or if you can lease it so you don't have to pay the cash, or you can get it for free. If you can get old equipment, take it. Pay yourself as little as possible for as long as possible. An entrepreneur who wants to ride a fancy car and who wants to stay in a fancy suburb and eat in fancy restaurants will never make it. Once you've made it, you can buy the Ferrari. My friend Louis was a well-made man when he bought his Ferrari. And interestingly enough, I told him he'd always wanted to drive a Ferrari. And when he bought it, I told him he's off his rocker. And he said to me, no, I'm not. I'm making a good investment. And he drove it for, it's an older Ferrari. He drove it for, I think, 6 years, maybe longer. And when he sold it for, let me work that out, 40% more than what he paid for it. And that's what he said at the beginning. He said, these things increase with over time as long as you don't stuff it up. If you don't break it or crash it, which is not difficult to do, as long as you don't do that, they will increase in value. And he proved his point. He made a 40% profit on the Ferrari. So yeah, use your network to assist you. So friends, family, whoever, if they can help you in any way, if they can introduce you to people, let them do that. Think about the networking stuff we've spoken about. You should educate yourself on legal matters and accounting matters. Why? Because then you don't have to run to a lawyer every time you get a contract. You don't have to, when you're trying to balance your books. Yes, I know what I said earlier, don't worry about the books. But at some point, you're going to have to balance the books to pay taxes and stuff like that. You don't have to get somebody to do that for you. You can go and you can work that stuff out. You guys, that's one of the reasons why you've been given that skill in this course. You should be able to do your own accounting. So accounting wasn't just a thing that you needed 50% to get in. It was something that you needed to pass to be able to do what you need to do as an entrepreneur. If you need to get advisors, goodwill. Give them something, a service of your product. If you must, give them equity in the company, but be sparing with your equity. Don't just give it away. Goodwill, I know a guy that worked with me. He was one of our part-time lecturers. He was a bookkeeper. He did the books for a guy that did solar panels. And the guy gave him solar panels and installed solar panels for free in his house for 2 years worth of bookkeeping fees. And when that 2 years were finished, he said to Max, look, you must decide now, I can pay you now, but I think you want to upgrade your system. Can we do another deal? Max said yes. The guy put up further solar panels, gave him a second battery, and he got another 2 years worth of free bookkeeping out of this guy. Bookkeeping, taxes, all of that stuff. He did it for free because the guy gave him the solar panels. Don't try to think about flying around. If you must travel, drive there, take a train, take a bus. If you've got people that are prepared to work for a part of the business, let them work for free and give them a part of the business. But once again, be sparing with your equity. Go to networking events whenever you can get them. I think there was a hand. Did I see a hand?
Hi, sir. Yes, it's me again. Sorry, I have a question, but when you're ready.
Yeah, sure. I'm ready. Is it about the work that we're doing now?
Yes, sir. I want to ask, like, what
Ask.
happens if your business grows so much you have to pay VAT, but your CVP was the low price, but now VAT forces you to increase your price?
When you get to the point, so VAT, here we go with VAT. If I remember correctly, below 40,000 rands turnover, you cannot register for VAT. Up to $1 million turnover in a year, that is voluntary. Above $1 million, you need to register for VAT. That is going to add 15%. But let's think about how that works, right? You don't pay 15% over because you're paying VAT on what you buy in. So when you buy in materials, you're paying VAT on that. So the VAT you pay, you subtract from the VAT you pay over to the SARS. So actually the only VAT you're paying is on your profit. Therefore, if you have got a turnover of more than R1 million and you take the VAT and the VAT is only on your profit, I don't think that CVP is going to fall away.
What if your business is a service? So you don't have a lot of things to buy.
Okay, so give me an example because I'm just trying to think how that works on a service. I must just remember now. So just give me any example. So for instance, you're doing what? A hotel.
Taking care of the elderly. So it's like an
Okay,
elderly caretaker service.
taking care of the elderly. If you're doing $1 million a year taking care of the elderly, then the CVP won't fall away with 15% extra. Because remember, to do $1 million a year, right? What are you doing? 180,000 a month.
So
So
do you
if you've
only
got
pay VAT on the
yeah,
profit, sir?
no, you pay. Okay, you get 15% VAT, right? The 15% needs to be get paid over. Okay.
But
So if
you
you
need
if
to charge your customer 15% VAT as well.
yes, yes,
But
that's correct.
that's the problem.
Yes, but
So
remember
what if you
something.
can't?
So well, then you need to relook at your business model. If you in a service industry, I agree with you, it's different. But remember, in something in the manufacturing instance, it works completely differently because you're buying a lot of stuff in and you're subtracting that VAT off the VAT that you're charging. So you're only paying VAT in a manufacturing industry. You're actually only paying VAT on the profit, right? And that's profit after all costs. But in the service industry, it's different. But what I'm saying is, if you've grown your business to the size where you must pay VAT, right? Where you must register for VAT. Sorry, let me put it that way. So in other words, you must register for VAT, therefore you must start charging VAT, therefore your prices go up by 15%. If you're doing those type of volumes, my thinking is your business will be able to absorb that.
Okay, thank you, sir. And the second option is change your business model, not your pricing model.
Well, yes, change your business model. Look at what your CVP is. And I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I would be very concerned, and yes, I know there is a market for this, but I would be very concerned if the person who's looking after my elderly mother for whom I'm paying, because that's typically how it works, if their value proposition they are the cheapest in the market. Because now I'm thinking about stuff, but listen, if they're the cheapest in the market, who are they hiring? Because they've obviously got a business, so they've got several people they're looking after. Who are they hiring to look after these people? Who's looking after my mother? The cheapest person. Is that the best qualified person? Probably not. If my mom has some kind of a medical emergency, is this person trained to take care of that medical emergency? Probably not. So in other words, do I want to hire these people or do I want to go to a company that's a bit more expensive but has better people? You get what I'm saying. So for me, a CVP in that industry being if your CVP is I'm charging my customers the least and that's why they're going to come to me, I'll be concerned about it.
So
Make sense?
yes, it makes sense, sir.
Okay.
So on the other side, because I know the back end of the business, the company
Mm.
does charge lower fees, but they do take better care and they get the workers get higher wages than other companies.
Then I would like to look at the business really well because then there's something wrong. Because if you're saying to me, then there's something else at play. Because if you're saying to me, the people are paid better, they take better care, but we charge less, then there's something else is at play. Because how can you do all of those things and be the cheaper company? Um, then and then if you could pay the people more, right? Give better care, and you're the cheapest, then there's space in any case for increasing the price and still being competitive with the other guys. Because then your CVP changes to the better care rather than the cheaper price. Then you need to focus your CVP on the better care and instead of being a lot cheaper, because if 15% is going to place you out of the market, instead of being a lot cheaper, be slightly cheaper and absorb the 15% VAT.
Understood, sir. Thank you so much.
Cool. Okay, guys, these bootstrapping strategies that we see here on the screen, these are all in 12.2, I think. So you need to look at those, go through them. They're nice strategies, and they are strategies that you could use in terms of where you're going with your businesses and in your assignments. Then we come to how do we now get money? We crowdfund. And there's crowdfunding versus crowdsourcing, okay? So the definitions are that crowdfunding, you get a large online group of people, and these people all promise you money. And they're happy to raise the cash. That's typically done through the internet. And people give small contributions. They're going to get something. They're going to get a T-shirt. They're going to maybe get a first product. And then there's different tiers. And in this manner, you can get quite a lot of people to give you money. And we'll go through a bit more detail of that. And then crowdsourcing, opposed to funding, is where you're getting people to assist you by giving labor. So you're sourcing labor from the crowd, and they're giving you free labor because they like to support your business. They like to support the idea that you're representing. So using technology, there's a lot of advantages. Sorry. So you're reducing the costs of figuring out how to do these things by crowdsourcing. You're getting people to come help you. People manufacture, people design, people do all of these type of things through the crowd. So 3D printing and other tools are great stuff to use because you can take small stuff and manufacture small stuff through using 3D printing where it used to be very expensive to create 3D models and so on. You can use crowdsourcing to get people that will print these things that have 3D printers and will print you quick, rough models of what you're trying to build. You can use things like Google SketchUp that can help you. And Google SketchUp, it's easy to get people that know how to use Google SketchUp. They can help you create the stuff. In other words, draw it. And then you can get people that can print it for you. They can use a MakerBot robot or one of these things and print it for you, and relatively cheap. Once you've crowdsourced that, then you can just say, okay, let's have a look at who we can use in a country that's cheap with labor, like China. Send it to China, have it manufactured in China, and you now starting to have a business that's doable and feasible through crowdsourcing. Crowdfunding, remember, we raising funds through crowdfunding, and they talk about it. And you'll see it on the slide there, a democratized method of raising money for upcoming entrepreneurs. And there are actually people that what they do is they look on some of the crowdfunding sites, and they support businesses just because they've got money and they feel they should help entrepreneurs. There are other people that look and say, what new products are there? What can I get cheaply because I'm buying it directly from the entrepreneur and I'm the first person. And then there are also companies that will even offer you long-term profits out of that. That's few and far between in crowdfunding. But it does happen that people give you equity. And one of the reasons why this has become so popular is because banks are getting nervous about giving money to entrepreneurs. Banks feel that the risk is too high, and they very scared of it. And at the moment, billions of money is coming in, and literally billions. If you go look at what some of these crowdfunding sites are doing, right? Things like Kickstarter and so on, they are literally collecting billions of rands for entrepreneurs. Kickstarter is the big one. They take a little fee off you, and basically they charge a small fee of the money that comes through, and the rest of the money comes to you, and you then have the money and the ability to manufacture and do what you wanted to do with your product, because suddenly you have funding where you didn't normally get funding. Equity crowdfunding is what I was talking earlier, where backers get the opportunity to become a shareholder. So if you've got a company and you believe it's going to go really big, you can do equity crowdfunding. So you can say to people, look, give me some money. I'll give you some. I'll give you part of the company, or I'll give you a safer way. If you're ever going to do this, a safer way is I'll give you a percentage of the profits for the first 5 years. That way you keep control of the company, because if you give them shares, they can vote. And they must decide how many shares. And if you give them shares, you're stuck with them forever. No matter how big your company grows, you're stuck with those people, and they're going to hold 5% of their shares. Shares are going to rise in value, but it's still going to be a 5% vote in the company. So I would always recommend, if people ask me about this, I'd say yes, but give them a promise of part of the profit, rather than giving them ownership, right? And crowdfunder, angel list, fundable, circle up, are all sites that do this, and it gives people the opportunity to do that. Be careful, but it is a good way to get money in quickly. It's also, if you've got a bit of money laying around, it's also a nice way to make a bit of money. If you see a nice entrepreneurial idea, throw some money at it, get some profits out of them. And some of these companies go really big really quickly. So you might actually make a nice return on some of these things. So there are various models for crowdfunding: the patronage, lending model, reward-based, and investor model. The patronage model is getting financial support by backers, and they don't really expect a return. They're giving you money, and they're happy to see what you're doing and so on. Patreon has got a bad name and a bad rap in recent times, because much of it's been being used for pornography and so on. But there's lots of people using Patreon for more appetizing, for lack of a better word, funding. So I know of people, for example, that have used Patreon because they've got a farm in Spain, and they use Patreon as a way that people can give money to them to help them support the farm. And all the people get in exchange is occasional videos about the farm and so on. Musicians do it. Lots of creative people that do that. And Patreon has got a couple of million supporters on there, right? But the patronage, you're not really expecting anything in return. You're giving money, and it's nice to see the creative people give you something back. Lending money. So you give people money, or you get money from people, and it's a lending model. It's a loan in essence that you're getting, and there'll be reimbursement. So reimbursement can be interest to be paid on the loan. There may be interest may be waived. You might just get some of these might just be, you must just give the capital back. And in some cases, you will find that there are small loans made, and especially there's like programs in India and so on, where people loan money, and if it's successful, the company, the people that got the money, that borrowed the money, pay it back. But the person that donated the money says, no, leave it in the fund and reinvest again, help somebody else. Those are particularly for things that are promoting social good and so on. So the lending model could either be a genuine business lending model, where you use crowdfunding to source loans, and the loans are small. I mean, people will loan $5 here, and the next person $10, but eventually you get the money you need, and then they'll get their $5.50 back after a year, for instance, and they've got 10% interest on it. Reward-based crowdfunding. This is where there's some kind of a reward. Entrepreneurs give some kind of an offering, so they don't give away equity or shares in the business. So they give product, for example. There's all types of things. You can get a T-shirt, or you get a key tag with the name of the company on it, and then there's like that's at the first level. The next level, you get one of the product. The next level, you get a product and a key tag. The next level, you get a product, a keypad, and a T-shirt. In the gold standard, you might get a tour of the factory, etc. So there's different ways of doing that. Once again, you're getting money, and it's money you can use to set it up, and you're giving very little back. And then you get the investor model. And this is the equity stake. We're giving money to somebody's giving you money, and they're taking a part of your business. In essence, they're buying shares in the company, and now we're starting to move towards like a private company type of setup. And the shares they buy in the company would mean they've got some form of ownership or certain rights in the project, or you may even promise them future revenue or profits without them having the ownership. But they're going to have some kind of something in there that's going to give them a say in the company. So there's lots of advantages to crowdfunding. You're saving money. You're obviously building relationships with the customers, and because customers are committed, they vested in the company because they're bound to your company. They're going to use the word of mouth. They're going to tell people, hey, listen, you must see this new product, blah, 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 because they are now part of the company. You've built that relationship, right? And you might find people saying to you, listen, you're doing this thing. I'm actually an expert in X, Y, and Z. Yeah, I've given you $10 in crowdfunding, but I see you struggling with this thing. Let me help you. Let me do this programming for you. Let me build you a little website. My brother-in-law has a factory where they make X, Y, and Z. He's got a couple of old machines that he's going to dump. How about we send them your way? You know, so these are ways in which you can do things and get people to help you. You need to understand that although crowdfunding may seem like an easy way to get your hands on funds that you obviously need for your new venture, it does involve a lot of thinking. It does involve commitment and does work hard, takes hard work. You can easily cock it up, and there's so many ways to cock it up, right? And you've got to be careful about what you need and what you're doing. So the last couple of slides are about what you need to make sure that your crowdfunding works. So you must make sure that you have some product that people want to buy. The message you're conveying is that if you think this is a good product, I think this is a good product. Do you think so? And if you think so, then you need to back me, right? Take your idea and make sure that your idea has been tested, refined, and that it is ready for market. Don't go to a crowdfunding site and have an idea and say, I want funding for my idea. And if my idea works out, then we will be able to. People don't buy into ideas. People buy into products, right? So you need to have a product that you've got to the point that you say, I have a product, I don't have money. So help me with money and we will put the product on the table. Biggest mistake you can make. And if you start going onto Reddit groups of Kickstarter, some of the Facebook groups, or on Kickstarter itself, the comments people leave there, people say, I need the money. And then the money comes, and then they say, oops, I've had a really good Kickstarter project. I've got $80,000. My problem is I need to deliver 1,000 products, and I promised the people 3 weeks after the funding deadline, I'll deliver. I can only make 100 products a week. It's going to take me 10 weeks to make the 1,000 products, and then you start making them, and you find out something goes wrong, and that delays you 2 weeks. Now you're on your deadline. You must deliver 1,000 products to the backers, and the backers are saying, "Where's my product?" They're saying it's a scam. You didn't deliver the products because you failed to plan. So you need to look at that and be ready, and you need to know who are your suppliers, who's your distributors, what do you need to be able to do, what can go wrong, what is your backup plans, how are you going to communicate to the people if stuff starts going wrong, how are you going to physically take the product and give it to the person. How's it getting from your factory to the person? You need to figure all that stuff out beforehand, before taking a cent from anybody. And in this sense, it's a good idea to speak to other entrepreneurs, to speak to guys that have done this. Get feedback on your product, but also on your on your delivery plan. Excuse me. And make sure that other people that have been through this will say to you, yes, this works, or no, this doesn't work. When I did this, X, Y, and Z went wrong, and we had to do the following. When you start your campaign, when you're ready, start your campaign. Don't wait, don't hang around, start the campaign. Put photos up, put drawings up, have people understand where you're at, and then update that as you go along, as you finally got your product and so on. If you can build a hype on social media, and then from the hype on social media, spin that into a crowdfunding exercise, then you've already got those people that are following you on social media are already committed to the product. They already believing in the product. They say, yes, this looks like a, and then suddenly you pop that Kickstarter thing, and then they're saying, yes, I'm in. I want to buy. You're going to have to have some money. You can't go to crowdfunding with no money. Because you're going to have some kind of a product. That's where that job in the spur comes in handy, where you can use some of that cash to get it up and running. Look at your funding goal. How much money do you really need? Not how much would you like to have, not how much can I maybe scrape by. Make sure that you've done your financial homework, that you know what you need. Because if you ask for too much that you don't need because you'd like to have the money, and it would be handy to have extra money, you might not make your goal. And remember, if you don't make your goal on things like Kickstarter, you lose it all. You say, I need 50,000, they fund 50,000 or more. If you don't get to 50,000, you get no money, because the argument is you can't start the business. So you need to know how much you need. And you need to know that if I get that much, I can deliver what I promised. Focus your pitch. How are you going to pitch this? And the best way is to do a video. Showing people what you do, what the product does, how it works in a video works like a charm. There is a 66% higher chance of success on a platform like Kickstarter if you have a video than if not. That's massive. It's almost like saying if you don't have a video, it won't work. So you must have a video. And then get the feedback from the people. Get people to tell you what they think. Let those backers come back and say, I've used this product, it looks great. Because that is the material that you're going to use to make hype in the media, to use for advertisements. Because remember, when the Kickstarter funding project ends, you still have to make a living out of your product. You still have to take this product further and take this product and sell it to the general public. But remember, you've got a bunch of people on Kickstarter, and I'm using Kickstarter, any of the crowdfunding sites, that have bought your product or funded the product. They vested interest in the product, and they are the best people to help you sell the product and market it. Also, the feedback that they give you can lead you to the product development. They can say, look, this product is great, but what if you could have it do this? Have you thought that this product might also work in this context? And now you can start playing around and scaling your product for other things that you can do with it. This is simple. Commit to your campaign. Do what you say you're going to do. You need to be fully committed. And a simple thing like responding to emails, that you say to people, I will respond. Be careful. Make sure that you have the ability to respond. In other words, you don't have a choice. You're going to get emails. But what if you flooded by 3,000 emails in the first week? Have a plan to deal with that. Have a plan for other people to help you answering the emails if it boils down to that. Because if you leave people hanging, it's not going to fly. It's really not going to fly. Crowdfunding course, basically the last slide. Delays in delivery or failure to deliver. If you said to people you're going to give them something, if they give you money, you've got to do that, right? People who are backers and they then are dropped by you, bad reputation, they're walking away from you, they're out of there, right? And if you have a problem, tell the backers you have a problem. Tell them what the problem is. Tell them what you're going to do to resolve it. Tell them when it will be resolved and when they'll get what you promised them. Because if you don't communicate with them, they're going to say you're a scam. And you're at launch phase of your product. If people start calling you a scam and they start putting things on places like Hello Peter, putting it on Facebook, putting it in Reddit groups, you end up having a reputation as a scammer, as somebody that's lying about what they can do. That destroys your reputation. That destroys your company before you've even reached down to your bootstrapped and started pulling yourselves up. Guys, that's what I have for you tonight. Questions?
Hi, sir.
Yeah.
In regards to our assignment, do we also need to make a video?
First one or second one?
The second project, question 2 for the crowdfunding and bootstrapping.
As far as I recall, that doesn't require a video. I haven't done my prep for the second assignment yet. I'll do it in the next week or two. But as far as I know, it doesn't require video. As far as I can remember, it doesn't require video.
So would we need to, thank you, sir. So would we need to choose like one of the like crowdfunding or bootstrapping options and then like work around that?
Anushka, I'm not going to answer that question because I can't remember. I haven't looked at the assignment recently. So before I haven't looked at the assignment, I'm not going to say, oh, you must do this or that. I will do a video in the next week or two. I've got to go look at the timing. I can't remember when it's due. I can't remember when I've scheduled to release a video. But you will know what you need to do in perfect time. It won't be too long before or too short time to be able to do what you need to do. As I recall, you don't have to do a video, and you have to make or write a crowdfunding plan. But I can't remember. I'm gonna lie to you if I tell you now.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Any other questions, guys? Happy days? Going, gone. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining tonight. Those guys listening on the recording, there's my email address. Please feel free to ask questions, email me. I'm here to try to help and support you. Okay. Good night, guys. Keep well. Cheers.